Okay, we are set to go. We are excited to have our special guest, Brenda Geary, on our Survivor Series. And the reason I'm doing this Survivor Series is it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. And the other day I saw on Facebook Live that Brenda had posted that she went in for her 9-year checkup and she had a clean bill of health and she was so excited. And I met Brenda through this company, LifeVantage. And that is what is such a gift with this company, as we meet the most amazing people that we get to walk through life with and do life with. And I absolutely adore you. Brenda, you are the most beautiful person inside and out. You glow, absolutely glow. And you and your husband, Randy, are out by San Diego, right? And she's always showing these amazing pictures of her coastal walks, which so jealous. She is a mother. She is an entrepreneur. She used to be a corporate executive for a Fortune 500 company, and she was in the rat race and super busy, always on the go. And she's actually a speaker now too, a keynote speaker, and does that as well. But she is an entrepreneur and amazing wellness coach as well. Just loves life and a Pro 6 in our company, so has a massive team and just is an amazing gift. I love your energy. I love your attitude, your positiveness. You know, you're just somebody that just exudes this amazing personality of, you know, just grace and strength. And, you know, I just love it. So I am just so honored to have you as my guest today. And we want to learn about your health journey. I know you talked about prior to your diagnosis 9 years ago, you were going with a lot of autoimmune issues. So you were kind of on a health journey when you started with this company, but love our products. So I'm going to toss it over to you and let you share your amazing story with us and give us some, you know, good insight and some hope and some, you know, inspiration today and about how you've learned through this journey of cancer, but also with our amazing company and our product line and how that's been a great gift to you as well. So welcome to our call, Brenda. You're just amazing. And I'm so fortunate to know you.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. I'm super grateful and blessed that you invited me to share my story and that you thought about me. And I'm happy to be here with the folks that are going to be watching this, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching the recording. So as Marilyn said, my husband and I, we live out here in San Diego. Absolutely love it. We have experienced snow though. We know snow. We've done plenty of snow. I got it out of my system. So now that we're in San Diego, I'm totally the sunshine living in flip-flops girl now. But super grateful to be here. So my story, it starts with my corporate career. You know, I was a VP of Human Resources for almost 20 years. I absolutely loved what I did. I'm one of 5 kids. My dad was in the Air Force, so we're military brats. We traveled a lot, and my dad retired in a small town in Illinois. And I never, the way I grew up, I never thought that I would end up in this amazing corporate career, but I did. And I loved it. And I was at the top of my career. And then one morning in June of 2004, June of 2004, I woke up to the start of what I will call my health journey. And I had a number of autoimmune issues that were really, it just, you know, I believe that once your immune system is compromised, it just opens the door to so many other things. So I woke up and then from 2004 to 2011, just a number of health issues that were really debilitating. And I would go to the doctors and the doctors would just give me more and more prescriptions. And I was very compliant because I grew up in a household where when you had an issue, you went to the doctor and the doctor said, take these prescription medications. So I did, but they weren't helping. And I just kept getting sicker and sicker. So I actually ended up taking a medical retirement from my corporate job. And that was really devastating for me personally and emotionally because I was go, loved being of contribution. I loved my employees. I had an international business, traveled a ton. And when I got sick, not only did I have physical issues, but I also developed a number of cognitive issues where I would forget conversations, forget names. I couldn't function and I lost myself. I literally lost who I was in that process. So LifeVantage, and so I took a medical retirement. in January 2011. And at that point, I was going to the doctors 3 and 4 days a week, like literally every ologist that you can think about. I was one of their patients. And so I was, and I was just sick, sick, sick. I wasn't living. I was in bed 20 hours a day, you guys, in bed 20 hours a day on 24 prescription medications. And I was just existing. And I want that to sink into you guys, because this is why I'm so passionate about sharing about what we have. Because there are a lot of people out there who are just existing because of their health issues. So I was praying because I don't want to live like that anymore. And so I remember praying, and I remember just saying, Lord, I just want something that will help me get my life back, even just a little bit of quality of life. I talk about needlepoint moves, right? Needlepoint moves, just something that'll help me a little bit. And LifeVantage came into our lives in August of 2011, totally a cold contact. My husband was at a restaurant. There was one seat available at the restaurant. A young man who will forever be my earth angel, sat down, they got to talking. Randy talked to Ryan, and Randy shared that he had a sick wife at home. And at the very end of that conversation, Ryan said, I have something that I could think can help your wife if you're open to taking a look at an ABC primetime report that features the product that I rep for. I'm grateful that Randy said yes, because it was life-changing for us. So Randy got home, he watched the ABC primetime report. He dragged me out of bed, literally dragged me out of bed so I could watch it. And when I watched it, all I could think about was what if? What if this could make a change for me? And I also thought, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So we ordered the product. At the time, we just had the one, but the science made sense to me. And it changed my life. So that was August, September, October, November. I start being able to get out of bed. I start being able to, I started like less of a lot of the symptoms that I had. And I was like, wow, I'm getting back to Brenda. Like literally, it was like life-changing. So I do have a history of cancer in my family. My mother had ovarian cancer. And so I was always really good about getting my mammograms. So in about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I went in for my mammogram, and they didn't find anything except for they thought maybe that there was something like at 6 o'clock on the left breast. And they wanted me to get another mammogram. So I got another mammogram. They still didn't see anything, but they saw a little scratch at 6 o'clock. So they had me go in for an ultrasound. So remember, 2 mammograms, nothing. So on the ultrasound tech was doing my, exam. She wasn't finding anything at 6 o'clock, and we were just about done. We were just about done with my exam, and we had been chatting throughout the entire exam. And all of a sudden, she got really still, and she got really quiet, and the energy in the room just shifted. And she was at 9 o'clock on the left breast. And she got really quiet, and she says, I'll be right back. And she literally left me in the room for about 15 minutes by myself. And of course, conversation in my brain. And she came back with somebody else, and she took over the exam. And then she says, Brenda, we think we see something, and we want you to have a needle biopsy. And so I went ahead and had the needle biopsy. And so here we are, I had the needle biopsy, and I'm waiting for my results. And sometimes people will say no news is good news, because I hadn't heard anything in 2 weeks, right? Almost 2 weeks. Well, my husband's no news is good news, and other people were no news is good news, but there was just something in my stomach. There was just something in my intuition that was saying, I don't like this. So 2 days before Thanksgiving, I called my doctor's office, and I just said, hey, this is Brenda, and I haven't heard my results. I haven't heard anything. And she takes a minute to look, and she says, well, you need to come into the doctor's office on Monday when you get back from the holiday. And I was like, I don't like the sound of that, because if everything was clear, they'd be saying, oh, you're good, right? So the fact that they were saying, you need to come in, and I said, and then of course, I said, well, you know what? I said, I don't think it's fair that you're making me wait for the holiday before I get my results. I said, how would you feel if you had to wait for the holiday? You know, I said, I just want to know. So she left the phone for a few minutes and came back with another person. And at this point, I think there was a little bit of a miscommunication because the next person on the phone says, okay, so you know you have cancer, da, 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 da. And she just was off to the races with, you need to do this, you need to do that, this comes next, this comes next. And I was still at, well, you know, you need cancer. But I was okay, you know, like truly I did ask to be told, maybe not in that way, but I did ask to be told. So that was a very different Thanksgiving for us. But one of the things about me is I'm not a person that panics. And I think that because of my health journey, I was in a place of, and I've always been this way, tell me what the situation is, tell me what it is that I need to do, and let's put a plan together. And that's just who I am. So when I got back from the holiday, went into the doctor's office, we talked, you know, scheduled some additional testing. MRI determined that I also had another lump in my right breast. So I had matching lumps, you know, cancer in both breasts. Then we did MRI, and then I decided to go with lumpectomies. I was given the option of mastectomies, but I decided to go with the more conservative approach. And quite honestly, and I shared this with Marilyn earlier, quite honestly, I was so tired of hospitals, and I understood what it would take to go through a journey of reconstruction. And at that point, I just decided that that journey was not for me. And again, as you know, so if you ever get a diagnosis, you just make the best decision for you. And I looked at my husband and he looked at me and he says, hey, Brenda, the choice is yours. So the recommendation for me, and then once they did the surgery, we went with double lumpectomies. And then during surgery, they did find that the cancer was in my lymph nodes. So that changed the conversation, because once it's in your lymph nodes, it could possibly have spread to the other parts of your body. So based upon knowing that, we made a decision. The doctor recommended chemotherapy. And I had a very, very aggressive chemotherapy regimen. It was TAC. It's 3 chemotherapy agents all at once. It's kind of like atomic bomb chemo. You know, 6 rounds. And I made also a personal decision. And if it's, you know, I'm not a doctor, you guys, I'm not a doctor, but I really believe that people need to advocate for themselves. I decided to go with an integrative approach to my therapy. You've got some folks that will listen completely to what their doctor says, go with standard of care. I made a decision that I was going to do what they were telling me, but I was also going to do therapies on the side that would support my immune health, that would support my body. And a big reason for me making that choice was my mother died at the age of 52. She had had cancer 3 times. And when she died at the age of 52, she did not have cancer, but she had a number of really debilitating side effects from her chemo and her radiation therapy. So thinking back to that, I wasn't afraid of going through chemo, but I just wanted the best outcome on the other side of chemo. I didn't want to be that person that was just existing on the other side of chemo. I had already lived that, right? So I did integrative therapies. I had to fight with my oncologist. So know that if you're seeing a doctor that doesn't support you, you got to push back. You know, they know what they know. And I totally respect doctors for what they know, but I also know that they don't know everything. And so if you have conviction about additional therapies that you want to take, whether it's chiropractic or acupuncture, I wanted to do supplementation along with that. And I wanted to do IV therapies as well. And initially my doctor was like, nope, I don't believe in supplementation. It's not standard of care. She was so adamant, but we decided to agree to disagree. And I went ahead and did my additional therapies because again, I truly believe, you know, even though with chemo that they're wanting to destroy the cancer cells, it's destroying everything. And I really, on the other side of chemo, wanted to protect my body as much as possible. And I wanted to do that by boosting my immune system. And also I didn't want to be so debilitated during chemo. So I had chemo was tough. I'm not going to lie. The last 3 rounds kicked my butt. It was like I was in a dark cave, but I'll tell you this, even though my last 3 rounds of chemo were really, really otherworldly tough, my blood tests were amazing.
Wow.
My doctor was so surprised at how well I was doing, especially the first 3 rounds. And I was able to go in under my own energy. I saw other patients that were having TAC as well, and they were in wheelchairs and they were bedbound and all these other things. And I never missed a company event, you guys, during that time. So I was going through chemo and I was still attending LifeVantage events. And again, personal choice, right? So I went through chemo, and then I had 48, 49 rounds of radiation therapy afterwards. I continued to take our products. At the time, it was just, the NRF2. I was taking that. And then for radiation, I was using our True Science, you guys. Powerful. I was using it after every radiation therapy. I would put it on. I would slather it on throughout the day a number of times. What was interesting is that my radiation oncologist said to me that I should expect rash, blisters, oozing, all types of things like that. And I know that you can relate, Marilyn. But guess what? That didn't happen to me. In fact, my radiation oncologist was so surprised at how long my skin did finally burn. But my radiation oncologist was so surprised at how long it took for it to burn. I never had the blistering. I never had the oozing. And then what was really amazing is when that skin sloughed off, all the skin underneath was baby new skin that didn't hurt. And I'm in a number of cancer Facebook groups where people talk about how much pain they're going through on radiation and the burning. So that I really believe that our products can help. Again, not treat, cure, mitigate, or prevent. I understand that, but can just be a tool that folks can use. Okay. So, so that really, so I went through that 9 years, like Marilyn said, I'm celebrating 9 years in remission this year. It's taken me a while to get back, but you guys, my doctor visit, my doctor says my blood work is perfect. I'm not living as a result of activation. I am living a totally different life today than I was before I got sick. I'm healthier today, post cancer, post chemo and radiation, than I was back in August of 2011. I'll be honest, I have brain fog. It's one of the side effects. And the reason for that brain fog is because of a couple of the other issues I had. And then you put chemotherapy on top of that. But I'm grateful. And Marilyn mentioned earlier that I glow and I'm super happy. You know what? I am grateful every day to be alive. I'm grateful every day that Ryan introduced Randy to our company, to these products, because they literally have changed my life. They've changed my husband's life. And I never would have thought that I would be in this industry because I was totally corporate girl. But I love what we do. I love the fact that we get to serve. I love the fact that, I can use the skills that I learned as a human resources professional, and I get to use those skills with our team, helping our team. So it's just been an incredible journey. For folks that get a cancer diagnosis, what I would say for them is to ask a lot of questions. And a lot of times doctors, I think they come at it from such a clinical perspective that they're just rattling off what's on their list to tell people. And we're like in shell shock, right? And we're not necessarily hearing or understanding the terminology. So be insistent and keep asking questions until you're satisfied with the answers, until you feel heard. The other thing I would really highly recommend is always, always, always get a second opinion. And when you get a second opinion, don't get the second opinion from that same medical practice. Does that make sense? So if there's a medical group that you're seeing your doctor, go outside of that group for the second opinion. And the reason I say that is because doctors that are part of a medical group, they're part of a medical group for a reason. And chances are they have group think, or they respect each other, and they may not, be willing to say something that's different from what the first doctor said. So definitely get a second opinion, but go outside of that cluster, okay? Advocate for yourself, question, talk to other survivors, I just remember there's so many side effects that a cancer patient experiences that their radiation oncologist, or maybe even their oncologists and the techs, they've never experienced them. And unless you've really walked the walk, there's just no way that a person can really understand all the subtleties of what a person going through chemo or radiation will experience. There were so many things that were happening to me after my first chemo, after my second chemo, that no doctor had ever talked about. And so I'm on the cancer forums looking for other people that are posting questions for what I'm experiencing. And so, don't be afraid to join forums. If you do join forums, make sure that they're positive and solution focused versus woe is me, because there are some woe is me groups out there. You don't want that. You don't need that. You need positivity, but you also want to be able to talk with folks that can say, oh my gosh, my face broke out, like literally after chemo number 2, my face broke out in lumps, like a huge acne. No one told me about that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And just little subtleties that happen. And you're wondering, is this normal? Is this normal? And when you're going through the treatment, you're afraid of what else is there, right? So, ask questions, talk to people that have walked the journey, be open to naturopathic options. Again, everyone has to walk their own journey. Everyone will make decisions that are based upon their level of comfort. And I truly believe that whatever decision you make, if that's your belief, then that's the right decision. As opposed to second guessing, or, having people say, well, you're doing it wrong, or I would never do chemo. Well, guess what? I'm the one that's got the diagnosis, right? So just trust your gut, ask lots of questions. So, now, again, like I said, 9 years in remission, now I'm glowing. All of a sudden I have a hot flash. That's one of the side effects that I'm living with, right? But I'm joyful, you guys. I'm grateful. I do a lot of things now to support my body naturally. I'm not on any prescription medications except for, I made a personal choice, taking some estrogen, progesterone. There's some controversy around that, right? But again, I have made a personal choice for myself for what I want and what quality of life I want for myself. Any follow-up questions, Marilyn?
Oh, I just love this. This is very interesting. And so you had a DCIS 3, stage 3. So
Yep.
there was lymph node involvement, you said?
There was lymph node involvement. And that was at that point, because of the lymph node involvement, that was the reason we decided to go with chemotherapy. Because originally the discussion was radiation only. But because of the lymph node involvement, that's when the conversation shifted to including chemotherapy.
Okay. And did you take NRF2 protandim during your treatment? Okay.
Yep, totally personal choice. But I looked at the research and I just made a personal choice because of what my belief system is. And I absolutely believe that it was the right decision for me.
Wow,
yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And look at on the other side of it. And then what other therapies? You said IV?
I did IV infusions, I did chiropractic, I did acupuncture, what else? And then I just, supplementation. Yeah.
Well, we won't get into the weeds with a bunch of questions for the sake of the recording. I'll stop the recording then if people want to ask a question, but I just want to thank you for sharing and inspiring us today. What an amazing journey and what you've learned through it all. And just, I admire your strength and your grace and your fortitude and just who you are. You're just an amazing example of, just positivity and it's a breath of fresh air. So I just really, really respect you. and honored to know you, and just so glad that you're in this far into it and that you have such a positive story to share. And thank you for joining us today. And I'm going to stop the recording so we can ask a few questions.
Thank you so much for inviting